just common sense.
I was sitting in the hotel room, watching the news. I was just kind of bored. I had to be at an office the next morning for the company I worked for, and was watching the news, and the PS3 was just being released. And up in New York, the journalist was, filming people outside of the giant Toys R Us that used to be in New York. Um, or some Toys R Us up there, and she was interviewing people standing in line waiting for the PS3. And they were going down the line, and like people were like, I got to have this thing. I'm a gamer, dude. I was like, oh, what an idiot. Kind of. I mean, who would wait 24 hours in a tent, waiting for the PS3? Bunch of morons. So she got to like the 10th person that she was interviewing, or somewhere around there, and the guy was like, well, I flip stuff on eBay, and I'll pay $399 for the basic model PS3, and I'll get 1,200 for it tomorrow. So I was like, I've always been kind of an entrepreneur. I was selling candy and blow pops and
Mhm.
stuff on the bus in the fifth grade and sixth grade. So I always had that kind of entrepreneur spirit, but I ended up getting sucked into the W-2 grind. You got to go to college, you got to get a
Mhm.
degree, you got to go work in an office for someone, and then retire at 60. And so I got sucked into that, but I've always kind of had the entrepreneur spirit kind of lurking inside. So when I saw that guy respond with, I'll flip this thing for $1,200, coincidentally, I was staying at the hotel. There was a Walmart right across the street, and I was like, I'm just gonna try it. I'm bored. I can, go in late tomorrow if I need to. So I went to the Walmart, sat on the ground outside with the 20 other people that were sitting there, and I was thinking like, what am I doing? I was in my 30s at the time, and like my early 30s. I'm like, what am I doing? This is crazy. Um, so I'm sitting there, and as fate would have it, I sat by a school teacher, and he told me, I mean, we're sitting there for, 12 to 20 hours. I can't remember how long it was at this point, but he told me, so when you're sitting next to someone you don't know and outside of a Walmart, with people walking by looking at you, you ended up trying not to focus on the people staring at you, but you focus on the person next to you and try to keep the conversation going. So so we're talking, and he said that, yeah, my wife and I do this, like, quite a bit. We do it, we teach, during the school year, but then we flip toys part time, and that pays for family vacations. It paid for, a small boat that I bought, paid for this, paid for that. And I'm getting 12 hours of tips from this guy who had done it for 5 to 6 years. And this was at the beginning of when eBay and Amazon really started kind of, the
Mhm.
retail arbitrage business kind of started taking off. So this would have been 2006. He had been doing it since like 2002. So during 2006, so I'm kind of asking him, I'm like, well, what do you flip? And he's like, well, we'll walk into like Toys R Us, and we'll have four shopping cart full of like Tickle Me Elmo dolls, and we'll walk out with those in October and November. And then, the day after Thanksgiving, it is game on. And so he told me about the Tickle Me Elmo doll, the or the Fisher Price Kid Tough digital camera was popular back then. Some baby that you could put a bottle in his mouth and it'd pee and, cry and all this kind of stuff, like this little doll. So that was 2006 was my first year of trying it out. And I think I made probably, $5,000 to $6,000
Mhm.
profit, that Christmas. And I was hooked. I was going through the real estate market in 2007 had started to turn in South Florida. So my property values and my rent for my properties weren't keeping up with the option arm loans that I had on
Mm.
a lot of my real estate. So I was trying to, supplement the loss of income in real estate with, the eBay income, because my W-2 was paying for my mortgage, all of our
Mhm.
bills. I just had a baby, and all those expenses. So I was trying to supplement the real estate kind of drop with the eBay stuff. And so that's kind of how, that was the initial how I got into it. And I just, back then, there was, and there's always, a hot toy out there or a hot thing. Back then it was like Beyblade, Bakugan,
I
that
remember
kind of
those.
stuff, that kind of stuff. And so I'd focus on selling that. I'd resell GI Joe stuff, and it just, and I was on eBay probably for the first 5 years. And my then wife, we're divorced now, but my then wife, she would buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, and she kept telling me, "You got to move to Amazon. You got to move to Amazon." And eventually, I moved to Amazon from eBay to Amazon, and it was game on at that point. I started doing $1 million years by myself. Not, that's not profit, but that's sales. So $1 million years in sales by myself out of our little 1,600 or 1,800 square foot house
Hmm.
that we lived in. I'd keep everything in the garage. I'd go to my corporate job. At night I'd work on the eBay and Amazon stuff, and on the weekends I'd do that as well. But that was kind of the segue that got me into the retail arbitrage thing on Amazon and eBay. Was sitting outside of a Walmart for 12 hours doing eBay for a few years, and then my ex-wife saying, "You got to do Amazon, you got to do Amazon," and then the rest is history.
That's incredible. $1 million in sales on your own. That's a ton of product.
Yeah, especially when you're moving $10 GI Joes.
That's what I was
It's like,
thinking. I
it
was like,
was
that's a lot of product.
yeah.
Lemmings was telling me about it because he tried to do some toy flipping and
Mhm,
just creating all of these boxes to UPS at 8 a.m. on a
mhm,
Saturday morning and
yeah.
bringing in kids' swimming pools into his garage up 3 flights
Oh
of stairs
yeah.
or something like that. Like,
Oh yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, so impressed by $1 million in product, but if with
Yeah.
one person.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then I started hiring like the little teenage kids in the neighborhood to help me. It just got so, it grew so fast. And it's funny, like it takes, you know, somebody posted a comment about, you know, I gave away like a top secret of how I see what's hot and what's not, and I deleted it because people were saying, "Please delete this, please delete this," post, so that the world doesn't know how you do this. So I deleted it, but somebody in the comments, was like, uh, how'd you do it all on your own, stuff like that. Well, I started. It exploded so fast. I started hiring the kids in the neighborhood to come help me pack and stuff like things like that. So it it's a lot of work. And another comment was like, well, with that top secret you released, maybe two people will actually do the work. And I responded, it's so true,
Yeah.
because I, I don't know, something in me, I like to help people. I like to help people succeed. I like to help people grow financially, emotionally, spiritually. Like, learn from my mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes I did, growing up and in my 20s and early 30s and stuff. So I've always kind of liked to help people, grow. So when the eBay and Amazon thing really took off, I mean, I was telling my friends, my neighbors, look, you need to do this. You need to get in on this. There's so much money to be made. I mean, people will buy anything on eBay and buy anything on Amazon, And I trained and showed, relatives, and nobody does it, now.
Mm,
They'd last 3 months and then they'd quit, because I think people think that retail arbitrage is easy work. It's not easy work. It's a lot
mhm.
of work. Just like anything, it's a lot of work. But if you stick with it, I mean, it can build an empire. It's just the thing. A lot of people don't stick with it long term. So
And are you still operating a retail arbitrage empire
I
today?
am. I am.
Wow.
I am. It cash flows at about 40% margin, 30 to 40% margin, and it's like, why would I walk away from something like that? It's just pure bank deposits every month.
Wow.
And I kind of look at that, that's like the recurring revenue stream for me. I mean, it's there. Like, we'll ship the stuff off to Amazon, to FBA. that's one of the benefits with Amazon versus eBay is you can ship stuff to their warehouses and they do all the fulfilling.
Oh, wow.
They charge an arm and a leg. Their fees are probably around 35 to 38%. So one of my metrics is if I buy something for $50, it's got to sell for at least $125. Because
Mm,
once Amazon takes their cut, it sells for 125, back out roughly 35% of that. Then that's your gross, after Amazon gets theirs, and then take out your cost of goods sold, and then there's your net. So it's got to be at least 2.5 times what I pay for it to be even worth my while.
mm. And are you doing any marketing,
No,
communications, that kind of thing? Or are you just
no,
relisting?
just relisting. Amazon is its own, it's a machine, it's its own brand. Everybody goes there. It's like I have uh retail space in Walmart or Target,
Right.
almost being on Amazon. So, and honestly, Walmart .com is allowing a lot of third-party resellers on there now as well. So there's other avenues besides just Amazon and eBay. Walmart .com has really tried to break into the Amazon space, and has given Amazon a run for their money by allowing a lot of third-party resellers on
Mm.
Walmart as well. So there's multiple venues to post things on now.